Good evening, everyone. My name is Dylan B. Dickherson White. I'm Mr. Trans USA 2022. And tonight we're going to be doing our sashing interview with our candidate for Miss Trans Michigan, Jamie Ashby. And let's give you a little bit of background before we have her introduce herself. Jamie has described herself as a pageant fan since the age of 6. And really when in competing and performing in pageants, she's found her family, she's found a sense of camaraderie. And one of the messages that she'd like to deliver to us is that beauty goes beyond size and that all body shapes and types are valid. And one of the things she told us in her application was that she believes that it's really important to have trans representation and visibility in these cis heteronormative spaces, especially for the next generation of trans people. So without further ado, I want to get into those issues and that passion of hers right now and have her tell us a little bit more about herself. Hey, Jamie, how's it going?
Good. How are you?
I'm good. I mean, we've just figured out that we're in the same time zone. Well, I just figured that out, but and so it is late on our end, but thank you for joining us.
Yes, thank you for having me. I'm super excited to finally be here.
I'm really, well, here is relative, right? So, but it's definitely with us. And I mean, I would much rather be in Florida, but
it's same, cold, because here in Michigan, it started snowing today. So hence I'm wearing a sweater and it is really cold. I think it's like 35 degrees out here today. So
I don't like that. I always tell people, why do I live where the air hurts my face? And that's just kind of how I feel. But again, thank you for joining us. And so we did give a little bit of a background that you've written in your bio and some of the things that we can read on paper. But is there something else that maybe we wouldn't know about you from the bio you gave us you'd like to tell us about yourself?
Yeah, so I actually just relocated here back to Michigan from Dallas, Texas. One thing about me is I move around a lot, but I am so happy to be back home and I'm happy to be in a position to be representing my state in this pageant. I live in the capital city of Michigan, currently Lansing, Michigan. I have a Boston Terrier. She's 12 years old. Her name is Hannah, and she is my literal world. So I have her, and we have been around the country, I tell you. So yeah, so I'm just really excited to be here in this interview today and just have a conversation.
That's really like one of the things we try to say. Like, this is just us to introduce our representatives to everyone, have a conversation. And like you said, you have a puppy. We have a 12-year-old Yorkie. We have a 12-year-old Chihuahua and a 8-year-old Yorkie Pom. So animals are my world too. And sometimes that's like one of the most important things is like we get so into stuff that sometimes we get along better with our pets than people, you know?
You know, that's true. I have, like I was saying, I was living in Dallas and I've also lived in Florida. And one thing that I have always had is my dog. So she is truly my best friend.
And they're just such troopers because moving around is so hard for animals. You know, it takes them a little bit to adjust. And I'm sure they're very happy. Not happy about the cold, probably, but
yeah.
You know, well, my Chihuahua is always cold. So
yeah.
So you're back in Michigan now. What was the thing I think you missed most about being there?
You know, my family, my chosen family and my friends. One thing I've learned about moving out of state is you really have to learn to like be in silence and be by yourself. And I had a really hard time with that. And one thing that has always made me excited about returning back home is my chosen family, my friends, and just having a sense of familiarity. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I think and I enjoy being a Michigander. I've lived here my whole life. And so, but I would think it's the love and the family and the friends that I have here.
It's awesome. I mean, I know what you mean. I've moved around a lot myself. So I can tell you once you're finally in a place again where you feel like you can start being connected to people, that sense of home just extends to everything else, definitely. So I think that now that we warmed up a little bit, we get to talk about some of the fun stuff because I've met some people before today and a lot of the contestants on the Mr. side I've known, but I didn't really know a few of the girls, a lot of them coming in. And so I wanted to ask what made you interested in Trans USA and like what that means to you to want to run for this.
Yeah. So, you know, I learned about Trans USA when Candy Stratton was reigning. And I have always loved pageants, as I was saying in my bio. I've been an avid fan of pageantry since I was just really young. And um, I have a bit of a drag history and showgirl history from years ago. And I've competed in pageants myself. One thing about them that I have really enjoyed has been the experience and the camaraderie of meeting people that have a like-minded mission. And as I have grown and as I have moved on with life, um, competing in like drag pageantry is no longer a part of me. I don't perform in shows, and I'm not a really talented person, but I've always had like this love for pageantry. And when I learned about Trans USA and that there was no talent involved and I could connect with other trans people from across the country, and I think that's really what attracted me to the pageant, where I could come into the pageant for the love of pageantry, and meet new trans brothers and sisters and walk away with an amazing experience. Following the pageant over the last few years, it looks like an experience that I would like to be involved in. It looks really fun. And I think connecting with everybody that has that same mission as trans individuals, I think is just a beautiful thing. I really enjoy the platform that Trans USA has. It's so much bigger than us as individuals, but we make the pageant. So, and I know that the pageant is growing, and I really want to be a part of that. So that's really what has attracted me to the pageant.
And I mean, like that just warms my heart. And I know that when Abs and Jar see this, like it's just that's really what our whole point is. And you're right. And a lot of people may not know that there is not a talent category, which is really almost unheard of in the queer community for pageants.
Yes.
As while it's not atypical for something in one of the larger pageants throughout the country, as you probably know, the Mr. United States, not Mr. Gay United States, but Mr. United States, there may be a talent, but it's not included in the score that actually gets you the crown. You know,
Oh,
it's
interesting.
so there are other pageants that do something very similar, but I think it's one of those things that we'd like to emphasize that, yeah, this is not about drag or performance, because yeah, many of us have that history and many of
Yeah.
us still do that, but it is about that platform and the work that we all do and just kind of collectively building that community. So I think that kind of leads into one of the things that we asked about in the bio, which is something new we're doing this year, is that if people wanted to highlight a certain charity and be a part for our Outstanding Advocate Award, which is the person we feel in each division who has really been the best advocate for their charity, and that has nothing to really do with how much money you've raised, but just how you've been there throughout the year. So you listed as your charity AYA Youth Collective.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted to have you explain rather than me look that up, because I want to hear from you. Like, what does that organization do, or how are you involved, and why you wanted to support them?
Yeah, so AYA, the acronym behind that stands for As You Are. And it's an organization that has been around since 2012 that is based in West Michigan. And the beautiful thing behind AYA is it's a drop-in shelter for all youth, and they have space for LGBT youth as well. Not only is it a drop-in shelter where youth can come in and take a shower and get a hot meal and clean their clothes, they also have housing resources, and they also have houses in place for youth to stay in. And then they have mentors who stay in the house and provide support to the youth in the home. It is really special to me because earlier in my life, when I was finding my way through life, I actually fell upon being homeless, and not the type of homeless where I'm sleeping on somebody's couch, but where, I was having to check into a local city mission and to the Volunteers of America. And as a trans person, I can't tell you like how scary that was. And so learning about AYA and being in such a better position in my life and having the platform now as Miss Michigan Trans USA is almost like full circle to where I can give back to my community. And as a trans person, being in a space that is so familiar to me and knowing how to get out of it, I'm really looking forward to partnering with them and bringing money into an amazing organization.
That's absolutely incredible to hear about that, because I didn't know what it was, and when I look at these things, I want to hear it directly from you, so I can just get the full explanation, because there's only so much you can read, but
Yeah.
what it means to each person. And I think that's just, it's something that we really need to highlight in the community, is that the risk that trans youth face in that earliest period too, when they, you know, maybe they've been thrown out, or maybe they just
Mhm.
turned 18, and now that their parents are like, okay, well then bye. Anything, you
Yeah.
know.
You know, and it's really scary being, I mean, homeless in general is scary, but when you are a trans person and you are on the streets, that leads to so many different things, and your mental health, the things that you're getting involved in to survive, and just being around complete strangers in a homeless shelter space. But, you know, we're living in a better time now where things are getting better, where we do have these places like AYA that have space and safe places for LGBT youth to come to.
And I think that's just also a great part of doing that, and having the platform you have now to be able to support that, is that not only is it going to like help you in your own mission, but you're actually like, this is the group that we need to help. And I think
Yes,
that's just, it's incredible to have that highlighted. So thank you for participating in that and getting that out there.
absolutely.
Yeah. So we also, that was again a little heavy issue right there, and I know that some of the conversation gets pretty heavy, and that there's some, always that in the back of our heads, we always have that next fight we want to like go for, and the next battle we have to fight. So when we all, as advocates, we also have to realize that we have to take time for ourselves.
Mhm.
So I love that some of the more fun things in your bio, and things you do to relax. You know, I
Mhm.
said you like to, you know, love perfume and hair, and I can see definitely. I I mean, I can't really you know, commiserate on that part, but so I wanted to just kind of ask, like, what other things do you like to do to relax, or just wind down from any kind of stressful day you're having?
Yeah, that's a really good question. You know, oftentimes I just go through life and I forget to like take time for myself. And, you know, I realize that wellness is important, and taking care of our mental health and just taking a break from the day is something that I try to build into my schedule. You know, if I'm having a hard day at work, I'll step away from my computer and I'll just go outside and I'll take my dog for a walk and I'll just breathe in the fresh air. I'll have a glass of water or a cup of coffee, um, and a bigger picture of things too, as I love to travel. Honey, I will get on an airplane quick, even just for a couple days, and just get out of town or out of state, do something I want to do that I've seen on TikTok that I've been following. And
All
I'll
I
just come back home and it is just a check off the list. So that's kind of how I take care of my mental health, and just kind of like escaping for a little bit, and just coming back to reality. So
I am with you on that. I love to travel. I've gotten to do way more of it now than I have in my life, I feel like. But I mean, it's still, I feel like I need a day after I travel to still relax. But so what do you think is the most fun place you've traveled to?
oh gosh, I have, so recently back in March, I went to New York City, and there was, going back to how I put in my bio, I'm a big hair aficionado. I have been following this guy on Instagram for just a long time. He's like a celebrity hairstylist, and he does the most amazing blowouts. And so when I was in New York City, I'm like, I'm making it a point to book an appointment with him and go see him. And when I tell you that it was just one of the best experiences that I've had. And then also while I was in New York City, I went to this thing called the Face Gym. And, you know, it's funny because they literally work out your face. And
Okay.
so during my travel, I did that there, and it was an amazing experience. I tell you, you walk in a little droopy, but you walk out absolutely snatched.
That's amazing. I just
So
I have to look that up, because that sounds so interesting, but also like confusing in a way. But definitely.
it is, but it is a real thing, and it's really relaxing too, and it really does work out your face. So I would have to say my favorite place traveling to is New York City. There's such good food, the culture, seeing the Statue of Liberty, uh, you know, the 9/11 memorandum there is, you know, there's so much to see, so much to do. So yeah.
I love that. I think my favorite I don't know. I had never been before, and there's I don't even like saying a favorite because I know there's other places, and I feel like every place I go is my new favorite.
Mhm.
But Vegas was an incredible time. I just it was,
Nice.
but I did need 2 days to recover from that one.
I'm sure. I've never been to Vegas, actually.
it's it was an incredible experience, and I've realized that I need to save way more money next time.
Oh, I'm sure.
No, so anyway, one of the other fun parts about your bio that I saw, and I know that this is probably related to some of the work you do. Maybe it says you enjoy being a corporate baddie, and I wanted to sort of kind of ask what that meant.
Yeah, so corporate baddie is kind of like a coined phrase. And what it means to me is that, you know, I have, when I was starting to wanting to get into the job force, the workforce, it was really difficult for me.
And oh, it's gonna. I don't know if you can still hear me, but the connection kind of dropped a little bit there. But we're just gonna pick right up.
Sorry.
Yeah,
Okay.
we can edit
So
everything. So
I
yeah.
wanted to enter the workforce and it was really challenging. I didn't have my name changed. I was really androgynous at the time and it was really hard and I went through so many no's and I knew that eventually somebody was going to eventually say yes and that happened. And so I've been with my employer now for about 7 years and I have worked my way up the corporate ladder and I go to work as an openly trans woman, and I'm able to share my experience and my thoughts. I lead one of our employee resource groups for LGBT pride in the corporate environment. And so, with that, I'm able to lead intentionally being a trans woman working in corporate America. And it is such a privilege to be able to do that type of work inside. As trans individuals, we know that it can be very hard to land good jobs. And so that I just see it as like my duty, since I've been so fortunate and blessed to be able to share my story and my experiences and my thoughts so that the next trans individual who knocks on an employer's door, they have a sense of understanding. So I enjoy going to work. I enjoy climbing the corporate ladder. So that is kind of my coined phrase of being a corporate baddie.
I like that.
And so likewise,
Go ahead.
I also I help trans individuals in my community build resumes and helping them get jobs because I try to pour into the same energy that I have found success with and helping my brothers and sisters with. So yeah, that's what being corporate baddie is about.
I think that's a very good description, and that's just it's like I love when people give me like teasers. They're not going to tell me everything, they're just going to give me like just that little slice that makes me want to know more. And it's
Right, exactly.
like hopefully that's what does for everyone here out in virtual world.
Right.
So it's something you brought up about a coined phrase, and the coined phrase that in the community and especially the pageant's been using the Trans USA system the last year or so is the phrase trans excellence.
Mhm.
So, and I know I posted a little bit of a video in our private group earlier today, sort of about what that means to me, but I know that means something different for everybody. So what do you think, if I asked you, what would that mean to you?
When I think of trans excellence, I think of just us existing and maneuvering and walking through the world. I think that is trans excellence, being 100% authentically ourselves and living our lives the best way that we know how. I think that's trans excellence. I think that to walk in this world it takes and be trans takes a lot of nerve. It takes courage. And I think that any of us who have the nerve and the courage to do that, I think that's beautiful and that's trans excellence. I also think what's trans excellence is when we have trans individuals in a positive spotlight. We have that representation. When I think about Pose, that whole TV series and the seasons, that's trans excellence because that's telling our stories from trans individuals themselves. And it's not being played by actresses and actors. These are real people with real stories that represent trans people. RuPaul's Drag Race. I mean, I could go on. I think that that's trans excellence. And I also think it's trans excellence when we have trans individuals working in our government. I mean, even under Biden's cabinet as a trans woman, and that's excellence. And anywhere where there's representation of trans individuals, I think is excellent. I think that's amazing. I think that having visibility for the next generation of trans individuals and youth to show that we are in this space and that it is possible, I think that that falls into what I think trans excellence is.
I think that I'm just floored because that was just an incredibly passionate response, and I think I'm just overall floored by the fact that every single person I've asked this question to, you would, when you say excellence, so a lot of people are going to give you like, oh well, college degree is this, all these actual like tangible little like achievements and resume lines like we had talked, but nobody has said anything like that.
The connection.
Everyone has said something about just living authentically and being yourself, and everyone has in this group here that we have is saying that the same sort of thing, that being just existing as ourselves in the wide variety of ways that we can is what it means to be excellent as a trans person. And I think that's just the way that you've summarized it there is just so beautiful, and I can't wait for everyone to see this.
Like going to college and going to school, that's great, but that is not everybody's reality. It certainly wasn't mine. And I think that as trans individuals, I think our own journeys is just excellent. It falls under trans excellence. So
that's, yeah, you said it best, so I don't have to add anything there, honestly. So again, we do that whole heavy thing, these issues, and that is a powerful statement, but let's go somewhere completely different. And it's something that I've asked everyone just because it's such a silly question, and it kind of gets at like that personal, like, I mean, I just want to let everybody know we have prepared, we did send the list of most of these questions. It's not like we're just, throwing them at people. So no, I mean, I would be terrified either way because that's how I am as a person, but this one's one of the easy ones on there. So I've been asking people about their pet peeves, and I'm not talking about big ones that are like deal breakers. I'm talking about those little tiny annoying ones that if you were to tell somebody that this bothered you, they'd just be like, why do you care? And for me, it's like clipping toenails. Or like clipping fingernails. The sound of it just makes me angry.
Oh gosh, when I think about my pet peeves, the first thing that comes to mind is when I'm talking on the phone and I say goodbye and you don't say goodbye back, but rather you just hang up the phone. If you're a friend of mine, I will likely call you back and be like, you didn't say bye.
I understand that completely because there are people like, I'll do that thing where I hold the door for somebody and, they don't say anything and I'll just go, you're welcome.
Oh, I do the same thing. I do the same thing.
And I know I'm not supposed to be that kind of person, but it's just like,
yeah,
it's little things like that. But no, I think we all have those things that just drive everybody crazy. And it's especially, that's why I love my dogs, because they don't get mad at me when I do crazy things like that. Whereas my husband sometimes does. So again, it's kind of like another one of our fun questions. So we talked about, we had, you have a dog, right? I have dogs, and okay, that's fine. And I love them, but I've always been curious if anybody wanted some kind of like exotic or strange pet that wasn't like a cat or a dog or a rabbit. What would you pick if you could have anything?
Oh gosh. So I might sound really silly for this, but I remember I went to an aquarium in Chicago and there was this fish, and it was a really beautiful fish. I mean, it was very unique. It had like a pig snout and it was like blue and yellow. And I was really fascinated with the fish. And I was also really fascinated with the name of the fish. So it's the Hawaii state fish. And I'm going to go ahead and pronounce the name of the fish for you. And I want you to repeat it back to me. Humu humu nuku nuku apawaha. Can you say that back to me?
No, I can't. Honestly, I the humu, and I just lost everything.
You want me to repeat it?
Okay, I'll try. I'm listening.
Humu humu nuku nuku apawaha.
Humo humo nuk. Never mind. I'm really bad
You
with
were
like auditory
almost there.
process.
You were halfway there.
That's one of the problems that I have with some of the auditory processing stuff with being autistic is like I'll hear some things, but if I don't see it, I can lose it a lot. So that's always really fun because it'll be somebody saying something in English and I'll just be like, oh, now I understand. Like it'll just take me a second. But thank you.
So
That's
when we get off here, look up the Hawaiian
yeah.
state
I'm gonna
fish.
have to look up and then maybe I'll try again. Do a few practice takes and edit into the video.
Yeah.
You can rate me on that.
Okay.
But no, I think mine would be right now either an otter or a hedgehog.
Okay.
Yeah, I just anything with a cute little face. I don't know. Like I said, I get yelled at a lot about wanting to bring every animal home. But I think a fish, is it a big fish, the one that you
It's not. It's a little fish, but
oh,
it's so unique, and I just think it's so pretty. And I saw this fish like in 2007, and it's just always kind of stuck with me. And if I could have her as a pet, I sure
oh,
would.
that'd be adorable. What would you name the fish?
I think I would keep her name because it would be
Just
a good
make sure,
conversation starter. Humu humu nuku nuku apawaha.
make people pronounce it.
Exactly.
That's the litmus test for your new like your partner, right? So I think that I'm still thinking about it. That's the thing. So we actually we have a few more minutes, and one of the things that I think is pretty important since it is October currently, since we're doing the
Mhm.
interviews in October, that we just passed National Coming Out Day on October 11th, and I think that as you know, we're all getting our new class of 2023 in, and each state having new representatives and getting us all out there. That if I wanted to ask people if they had a message they wanted to deliver to people maybe just coming out or who haven't come out yet, especially within their own state, like if they would be able to do that.
Yeah, I when I think of coming out, I think about my own story too, and how that happened. And we're in a much better time now. And I would say to anybody who is wanting to come out to um, do so when you're ready, and find somebody who you feel safe and comfortable enough to come out to. And I promise you that when you do find that time or that person, or whenever you do want to come out, that it will be so rewarding for yourself, your mental health, and just being able to go through each day authentically you. I know for me personally, when I was able to do that, it was so freeing. And so that would be my message that I would give. Thank you for joining my interview today. I want to leave you with one last thought. Being trans is not a choice. I've known I was a girl since I was 4 years old, and with our trans youth understanding who they are at an early age, it's important to listen to them with an open heart and truly hear them. A lot of children speak and are not heard. Love them, be there for them, and support them. Thank you again for listening. My name is Jamie Ashby, Miss Michigan Trans USA 2023.